Alrighty, welcome back to Large Scale Diorama Works. We're actually going to get into the diorama stuff today, so promise no action figures, no whatever. Anyway, you guys were asking me about the different types of foam I use. Well, my normal stuff is these big shipping containers. You can get these at local hospitals. Check with local hospitals, clinics, and vet clinics as well. These basically are the type they ship with dry ice. Medications and certain items they have to ship in dry ice. Perfect. There's a lot of places that can't throw these away because they're a petroleum product. Anyway, but this is basically a small one that I get. The ones I usually get are 4 or 5 times bigger than this one. And if you look at the styrofoam, it is pretty dense. It is pretty dense. I mean, it's still white foam, but it's pretty thick and pretty hard. Another one I just got today. I got a big box that came with the flat sheets, and you can already tell the texture is already different. And plus, this has got more air in it. You could squeeze it, but it's not that real squishy stuff you get when you get your TV or your stereo equipment. But this is a little bit more. It's got a little bit more air in it, but it's still pretty thick. And then when you add primer to it, especially your first coat's going to be thinned out, so it's actually going to permeate the foam and actually dry inside the foam. It's not going to sit on top. It's going to actually soak into the foam where you can sand it. And this foam here is definitely workable. This stuff makes really good display bases or diorama bases where you want to get natural, a natural look, like you know, a creek bed or something, and that's what this is. This is this same stuff, but sanded and worked. And even this is just one coat of primer. And even with that first coat of primer, you can if you don't like that real rough, because you're going to go over it with dirt and static grass and all that anyway, and put some trees in there. But if you don't like the way that looks, you can still sand it. I use a 100 grit. I use an 80 grit to get my initial shape, but you can come back over this, and this sands perfectly. I mean, you'll have to reprime it, but it gives you a better surface to sand, especially if you want a really rough creek bed and a little bit smoother sand or whatever. But you can come back over and sand all this down to where it's smoother. So when you do apply your dirt and your grass and all your static grass and stuff, you'll have a little bit smoother surface. Anyway, but that's basically what that is. But that first coat of primer should be cut down to about 30% or 40% with water, so it can actually penetrate. And I use a Kills primer, which dries super hard. And I use a little bit of the Folk Art Black to make that gray color. And again, when that soaks into that foam, it dries inside the foam, not on top. So you can actually work it better, and it's a stronger material. I mean, this thing is rock hard. All my dioramas that I do are in that Kills primer, and this stuff's rock hard. I mean, this thing, you know, again, it's going to be covered with mud, static grass. And I've got to learn how to do the static grass. You're going to paint your stones, and you're going to add stuff. Add sticks and maybe a couple of sapling trees or something. But anyway, that's just a lid. But this thing is firm. It's hard. And the more coats of primer you put on there, especially after your second or third coat, if you go that far, it's going to be hard. And again, if you want to sand down the texture, which I really wouldn't, because it just adds teeth, so whatever you glue to here, it's going to be porous, so it sticks better. So anyway, but again, there's the loose styrofoam. You can see it's got a lot of air in it, and I think this is a number 65. That means 65% material and 35% air, and this is probably going to be probably a 75, where it's 75% material and 25% air, and it's probably lower than that. It's probably an 80, because it's 80. It's pretty dense. You see, it's smaller beads, and it's packed in there pretty dense. So once you play around with the foams, again, this makes perfect structures if you're going to carve it up into bricks or a brick road. And this looser stuff, even though it feels lighter, once you get that primer on there and glue it to a piece of wood or something, it's going to be awesome. Again, this makes really, really good ground and natural settings. I'm going to take this off my... again, this is the number 80 here, and this is what I can do with the number 80. This is going to be the number 70 or 75, which again, it's a lot lighter foam, but it's able to sand a lot better and get that more natural. Again, all that texture is made with the back of my razor knife. I'll just take the back of my razor knife and scrape that down, and again, you can gouge, you can dig out stuff and gouge it out and get that texture and the dimensions and everything. But anyway, that's the two different foams I use. This is pretty much primarily the foams that I use. I don't use any of that pink or purple stuff because that stuff requires way too much work. And again, if you're doing really fine scale and really small scale, this stuff here is basically for good 1/16 scale, 1/32 scale if you're going to go with a lot of natural ground, but in 1/6 scale. But anything finer like a 1/72 or 1/35 scale that you need a lot of brick stuff, I would definitely use the pink and purple stuff. This stuff just got, the beads on this is way too big. This building here that I'm working on, the Forever and a Day, this is a 1/16 scale, and this is going to be like a number, it's probably numbers, it's a 75 or an 80% material. And you can see it looks really, really good carved up in, but any smaller than this I probably wouldn't do because of the material is too the beads in there are too big to work with. But again, they make really, really natural rubble piles, and again, it's easy to carve up. And then once the primer goes on, you can actually see your detailing. So anyway, that's my spiel on the foam. So you guys any questions or you know, any advice from you guys who actually know how to use foam, I'm open. Criticism, advice, pointers, whatever. So thanks for chiming in, and stay tuned for my next video. It's going to be starting from square one on a natural base. So we're not going to do any brick. It's all going to be natural. It's going to be, you know, countryside or whatever. So stay tuned.